careful what I say, but that I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
Today, a specific request from Mont's legal team has sparked a heated constitutional debate. The heart of this storm wasn't a trade deal or a military alliance, but simply a 4-page application to renew 2 British passports. The names on the documents were Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Leah Diana Mountbatten Windsor. This request was reportedly overseen personally by Meghan Markle's lawyers with the firm support of Prince Harry. At the centre of this constitutional wildfire is not a piece of legislation, but a seemingly simple administrative request that carries the weight of the monarchy's future: the renewal of 2 British passports. However, these are no ordinary travel documents. They belong to Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Leah Diana Mountbatten Windsor under the direct supervision of Meghan Markle's high-powered attorneys and backed by a resolute yet increasingly anxious Prince Harry. A formal demand was delivered to the HM Passport Office and the Privy Council earlier this week. The demand contains a clause that has sent shockwaves through the royal establishment: the immediate inclusion of the HR Her Royal Highness prefix on the children's official travel documents. With a high-profile private tour of Australia scheduled for April, Meghan's legal team has issued a stinging ultimatum. They have demanded that Princess Anne, who currently oversees the formal recognition of titles and royal administrative protocols along with the Royal Council, to resolve this administrative discrepancy no later than March 29th. The Sussex's legal representatives have gone as far as to threaten the palace with accusations of institutional obstruction and deliberate harassment, claiming that by withholding the HR designation, the Crown is actively endangering the safety of the King's grandchildren. The Sussex's logic is as strategic as it is poignant. They argue that the HR status is a birthright shield. By securing these 3 letters now, they claim they are preserving their children's ability to choose their own path upon reaching adulthood, allowing them the option to step into state duties or navigate the world as internationally protected persons. The response from Buckingham Palace, coordinated under the increasingly iron-fisted leadership of King Charles III and Prince William, was swift, clinical, and delivered through the formidable voice of Princess Anne. Representing the Crown and the Royal Council, the Princess Royal has reportedly stripped bare Meghan's motivations, exposing what the palace views as a calculated trap. Princess Anne has highlighted the stark reality of what HRH status would actually mean for the Sussexes' upcoming April trip to Australia. If the children were to enter Australian soil under a royal prefix, they would trigger a cascade of state fund-fueled luxuries and protections. RAVEC, level security, mandatory 247S armed protection provided by the Australian Federal Police, funded by taxpayers, diplomatic immunity and priority, use of the Royal Gap at airports bypassing standard customs and immigration queues, state logistics, the provision of official motorcades and secure government-sanctioned accommodation. Anne's critique turns a sharp lens on the Sussexes' healing meditation retreat program in Australia. While the Sussexes frame this as a philanthropic endeavour, the palace has pointed to the staggering VIP ticket prices, luxury suite requirements and commercial nature of the event. Royal service is a selfless sacrifice, not a commercial commodity. A palace source close to Anne whispered, to demand the perks of a sovereign's representative for a paid entry tour is not only a breach of protocol, it is a betrayal of the Crown's integrity. The palace has also addressed Meghan's claims of inconsistency, while the Sussexes point to the 2021 alteration of Archie's birth certificate, where Rachel Meghan was replaced with Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, as proof that the palace once insisted on the title. Anne has flipped the narrative. The palace clarified that those changes were for historical record consistency, not a grant of commercial privilege. The mantra of the post-Git era was repeated with devastating finality. No longer working royals, no longer HR, while the palace updated its website in March 2023 to recognise the children as Prince and Princess. Following the 1,917 letters patent, they have drawn an impenetrable line at the HR prefix. As the March 29th deadline looms, reports from Montecito suggest a deepening rift within the Sussex household itself. While Meghan remains the vocal commander-in-chief of this legal offensive, Prince Harry is said to be paralysed by a visceral fear. Harry finds himself caught in a psychological pincer movement. On one side is his documented trauma regarding the lack of security for his late mother, Princess Diana. On the other is the agonising reality of facing his father and brother in a legal arena. Insiders suggest that while Meghan views the HR title as an essential component of the children's global brand, Harry is simply desperate for safety, yet he is beginning to realise that his wife's aggressive tactics are making a security truce with William impossible. In a move of tactical brilliance, Princess Anne has publicly praised the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Prince Edward and Sophie. Their children, despite having a claim to titles, were raised to be self-reliant, hard-working and independent of the HR umbrella. The Edinburgh model teaches the next generation to earn their place through service and humility. The Sussex model accused by the palace of teaching the next generation to lean on a crown they have effectively abandoned for the sake of digital influence and status. As of today, the 27th of March 2026, the palace's stance is one of armed neutrality. King Charles and Prince William have signalled that they will not be bullied by threats of obstruction or PR campaigns. The HR status remains a gift of the sovereign, reserved exclusively for those who represent the monarchy in an official state-sanctioned capacity. The gates are not just closed, they are being deadbolted by a system that values the survival of the institution over the commercial ambitions of its exiled members. Will the palace blink before March 29th? All signs point to a resounding no. Archie and Lilibet are for the first time facing the harsh truth of their parents' choices. They are princes and princesses of a realm that has, for all intents and purposes, turned its back on them. As the sun rises over the manicured estates of Santa Barbara, the atmosphere inside the Sussex residence is reportedly one of calculated defiance. While Part 1 of this report detailed the legal HR ultimatum delivered to the palace, Part 2 explores the true motivation behind the April Australian tour and the commercial empire. Meghan Markle is constructing an empire that thrives on the very royal prestige she claims to despise. By late March 2026, Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever, the evolved successor to American Riviera Orchard, has fully transitioned from a digital teaser to a multi-million-dollar operation. However, the brand's survival hinges on a singular aesthetic: exiled royalty. To maintain the premium price points of her luxury organic jams, artisanal homeware, and meditation kits, Meghan requires the HR prefix to appear on her children's profiles. Critics argue that without these three letters, Archie and Lilibet are simply celebrity children in a saturated market. With them, they are the disinherited heirs of a thousand-year-old throne, a narrative that sells spectacularly well to a global audience. The upcoming April tour of Australia has become the primary flashpoint for Princess Anne's recent counterattack. Marketed as a private healing and meditation retreat, the event has raised eyebrows at Buckingham Palace for several reasons. The ticket scandal VIP passes are rumoured to cost upwards of $5,000, offering intimate access to a mindfulness session led by the Duchess herself. The Royal Guarantee marketing materials subtly imply that the event is a Sussex royal engagement, leading to confusion among Australian officials regarding the level of state hospitality required. The organisational chaos. Reports have surfaced regarding diva-like demands for the retreat's venue, including five-star suite buyouts for the Sussex entourage, all while the couple attempts to leverage their royal status to secure government discounts. Princess Anne has been scathing in her assessment, labelling the tour a commercial circus. She has pointed out that authentic royal tours are funded by the sovereign grant and the host nation precisely because they are free to the public and aimed at diplomacy. By charging for entry, Meghan has, in the palace's eyes, vulgarised the crown. The HR passport, the key to the global VIP lane. Why the obsession with the passport update before April? The answer lies in the special category visa and international protected person IP status. If Archie and Lilibet travel with HR on their passports, they are legally classified as state assets. This forces the Australian government to grant diplomatic clearance, ensuring they never stand in a queue or face a suitcase search. Provide high-level security. The Australian Federal Police, AFP, would be obligated to provide a motorcade, snipers and perimeter sweeps, a service that would otherwise cost the Sussexes hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket. In her most recent briefing to the Royal Council, Princess Anne drew a sharp public distinction between the Sussexes and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. The children of Prince Edward were raised with the understanding that a title is a weight of duty, not a golden ticket to a private jet, and reportedly stated, the palace is using the Edinburgh model as a psychological weapon. While Meghan is seen as grooming Archie and Lilibet for a life of royal-themed influencing, the Edinburgh children, Louise and James, are celebrated for their institutional invisibility, choosing to work regular jobs and support the king without demanding taxpayer-funded security. This contrast has turned the British public further against the Monarchy demands. Meghan's legal team continues to cite the 2021 birth certificate alteration as a palacurrent precedent. However, King Charles III and Prince William have countered that the 2021 move was a matter of historical preservation, not commercial authorization. In 2026, the Crown's position is clear. Just because you were once required to use a title for a record, it does not mean you are entitled to use that title to sell wellness retreats 5 years later. As of March 27th, the passport war has reached a stalemate. The palace has effectively told Meghan, go to Australia as private citizens, pay for your own bodyguards and sell your jam as Meghan Markle, but do not expect the king to sign off on a royal endorsement for a commercial meditation tour. The shadow court of monarchies is finding that while they can build a throne out of Hollywood PR, they cannot force the actual crown to provide the guards. The great severing is no longer a threat, it is a reality. As the 48-hour countdown to the March 29th passport ultimatum begins, the atmosphere within the British establishment has shifted from mere annoyance to a cold legislative finality. While Meghan Markle's legal team continues to threaten obstruction lawsuits over the HR prefix, a much larger and more devastating engine has been set in motion behind the scenes at Westminster and Buckingham Palace. This is the final chapter of what historians are calling the Great Severing, the moment the Sussex bloodline is officially decoupled from the British state. The most explosive development as of today, March 27th, is the accelerated drafting of the Succession Amendment Bill 2026. While the public catalyst for this bill was the final criminal fallout surrounding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, and his February 2026 arrest, the legislation contains a poison, pill specifically designed for the Montecito exiles under the guidance of Prime Minister Keir Starmer and in unprecedented coordination with Commonwealth realms like Australia and Canada. The bill introduces a revolutionary criterion for remaining in the line of succession, the active service requirement. The rule to maintain a place in the line of succession, an heir must be domiciled within the United Kingdom or its territories and be an actively engaged member of the royal family, a working royal or their direct minor heir. The impact for Archie Harrison, 6th in line, and Leah Diana, 7th in line. This is a legislative guillotine. By being raised as private citizens in a foreign republic, the USA, and participating in commercial ventures like the AS Ever brand, they would be legally redefined as inactive heirs. Princess Anne, acting as the chief strategist for the Royal Council, has reportedly used the upcoming April Australian healing retreat as Exhibit A in the argument for this law. In a closed door or session with the Privy Council, Anne argued that the Sussexes are attempting to create a shadow court using royal titles to sell private services. One cannot be a prince of the realm on Monday to sell a $5,000 meditation ticket and a victim of the crown on Tuesday to demand taxpayer security. A source close to the Princess Royal noted, by insisting on the HR status for their children, specifically for this Australian trip, Meghan and Harry have inadvertently provided the British government with the perfect justification to remove them from the succession. The argument is simple. If they are using their titles for private profit, they are no longer assets of the state and therefore cannot hold a place in the line to the throne. On the 23rd of March 2026, just 4 days ago, the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, RAVIC, delivered its most crushing blow to Prince Harry. The committee ruled that since the Sussexes' HR stars are in abeyance non-active, those stars cannot be passed to their children for official travel documents. Without the HRH prefix on their passports, Archie and Lilibet are categorised as high-profile private citizens. This means zero automatic funding. No British or Australian taxpayer money will be allocated for their 247S armed protection. Private liability. Any security failures or costs during the April tour fall entirely on the Sussexes' private bank accounts. The end of diplomatic immunity. In the eyes of international law, they will travel as American resident civilians subject to standard searches and legal jurisdictions. To highlight Meghan's illusions of grandeur, Princess Anne has spent the last week publicly gaining the Edinburgh family. She has pointed out that Lady Louise and James, Earl of Wessex, despite being grandchildren of the late Queen, have navigated life without the HR shield. They have sought education and employment without demanding the state provide them with an armoured bubble. Anne's message to Meghan is clear. True royalty is defined by what you give to the country, not what you demand the country gives to your passport. As of this morning, March 27th, the internal friction in Montecito has reportedly reached a pressure cooker level. Prince Harry is said to be reeling from the realisation that his children may be the first direct descendants of a sovereign to be legislated out of the succession in modern history. He is paralysed by the visceral fear of his children being princes of nowhere targets for public scrutiny, but lacking the institutional armour to survive it. Meghan, however, is reportedly doubling down. To her, the HR status isn't about safety. It's about the longevity of the Sussex brand. She views the palace's refusal as a systemic exclusion designed to erase her children's legacy. She has reportedly told her legal team to prepare a scorched earth PR campaign if the March 29th deadline is not met. The passport war is no longer about 3 letters on a document. It is a litmus test for the future of the monarchy. King Charles III and Prince William have made their choice. They value the survival of a slimmed-down monarchy over the sentiments of its exiled members. As we look toward the April tour, the truth is final. Archie and Lilibet will travel as children of a celebrity couple, not as representatives of the king. The gates of Buckingham Palace haven't just closed. They have been deadbolted by a future king, William, who sees no room for a shadow court in California. The HRH dream is dead, and the great severing is complete. The tactical battle between the House of Windsor and the House of Sussex has moved into the realm of global commerce. While Meghan Markle's legal team fights for the HR prefix on her children's passports, Prince William and Princess Catherine have quietly launched a counteroffensive that effectively neutralises the Sussexes' commercial power. In what insiders call the Royal Seal War, the Prince of Wales has transformed the very meaning of a royal endorsement. As of this week, King Charles III has officially delegated one of the monarchy's most potent economic tools to his heir, the authority to grant royal warrants. This historic shift allows William and Catherine to personally endorse and stamp businesses with the royal arms. In the high-stakes world of international branding, this is a strategic missile aimed directly at Meghan's as-ever lifestyle venture. While Meghan attempts to use her Duchess title and her children's prince-princess status to market luxury jams and wellness kits in California, William is now the literal gatekeeper of authentic royal quality. The contrast is devastating. The Kensington Standard, a royal warrant granted by William, is a state-sanctioned mark of excellence, backed by centuries of tradition and the current British government. The Monarchy to Standard, an as-ever product, is increasingly viewed by international retailers as a celebrity-themed curiosity that lacks the official recognition of the crown. Compounding the pressure on the Sussexes is the official separation of as-ever from Netflix. In a statement released earlier this month, the streaming giant confirmed it would no longer be involved in Meghan's lifestyle line, leaving the Duchess to fund and manage the venture independently. This Netflix divorce has made the HR passport status a non-negotiable survival tactic for Meghan. Without the HR to bolster the children's global standing, the brand risks being seen as just another Hollywood influencer project in an oversaturated market. The most visible clash of this optics war occurred today, March 27th, on the official royal website. While Prince Archie and Princess Leia remain listed as 6th and 7th in the line of succession, their profiles are strikingly institutionalized. There are no personal details, no recent photographs, and crucially, no mention of the HRH style. To the public, they are ghost heirs. In contrast, the palace has ramped up visibility for Prince George, Charlotte and Louis, showcasing them as the active future of the monarchy. This institutional invisibility is what Meghan's lawyers are fighting to reverse. They argue that by withholding the HR on travel documents, the palace is effectively de-oilizing the children before they even reach the age of 10. Princess Anne has reportedly briefed the king that the March 29th deadline must be met with a firm no. Her logic is grounded in the new active duty doctrine. Turco titles are not merit badges for social media. They are tools of service. Anne has pointed to the upcoming garden party season, which begins on May 6th, coincidentally Archie's 7th birthday. While the Sussexes will likely release a stylized private photo of Archie to mark the day, the king will be hosting thousands of citizens at Buckingham Palace, celebrating the service of the state. This scheduling is no accident. It is a clear message that the monarchy's calendar belongs to those who work, not those who merely watch from across the Atlantic. As we approach the weekend, the passport war has become a litmus test for the king's vision of a slimmed-down monarchy. If Charles yields to the HR demand, he risks undermining the very principles of his reign. If he holds firm, he faces a potential legal suit from his own daughter-in-law. But for Prince William, the choice is already made. To him, the shadow court of Montecito is a risk to the crown's longevity. By tightening the rules on royal warrants and succession, he is ensuring that when he eventually takes the throne, there will be no half-in, half-out model, only a dedicated, focused institution. As the Australian morning light hits the Sydney Opera House, the local mood regarding the impending arrival of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex has shifted from curiosity to a full-blown constitutional debate. While the passport war rages in the courtrooms of London, its real-world consequences are manifesting thousands of miles away in the Commonwealth. The April Healing Retreat Tour is no longer just a business trip. It is a litmus test for whether a royal title holds any value when the Crown itself has pulled the plug. The most striking development, as of March 27th, is the official silence of the states. Both the Australian Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet and the Department of Home Affairs have issued rare synchronised statements distancing themselves from the Sussexes. The upcoming visit of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is a private commercial venture. The Australian government has no involvement in the logistics, funding or official hosting of this trip. The statement read, "This is a devastating blow to Meghan's HR strategy. By travelling as private citizens without the sovereign's backing, the Sussexes are being denied the traditional state welcome. There will be no official greeting at the tarmac, no meetings with the Governor-General, and most crucially, no taxpayer-funded security motorcades." A massive glitch in the as-ever digital infrastructure on March 25th reportedly leaked internal projections valuing Meghan's brand at $36 million. However, the leak also revealed a high-risk internal memo. The valuation is contingent on the royal aura of the children. Princess Anne has seized on this leak to justify her no-negotiating stance. She argues that the Sussexes are effectively asking the British and Australian governments to subsidise their $36 million private empire by providing state-funded security. It is a bold strategy, one palace insider noted, to ask the public to pay for the guards who protect a private commercial retreat that charges the same public $3,000 a ticket. The news from London today suggests that the Succession Amendment Bill 2026 is moving at pace. While the primary target is the disgraced Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the inclusion of the active service and doy-sale clause has created a permanent barrier for Archie and Lilibet. If the bill passes, and with Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government indicating action is necessary, Archie and Lilibet will be legally defined as ghost heirs. They will retain their names in the history books, but their place in the functional line of succession will be suspended as long as they remain non-working royals residing outside the UK. To the British public, they are becoming American socialites with foreign titles, a status that Princess Anne argues is the natural consequence of Harry and Meghan's half-in, half-out gamble. The Australian public has not remained silent. As of today, a Change.org petition titled "No Taxpayer Funding or Official Support for Harry and Meghan's Private Visit" has surpassed 36,000 signatures. The hostility in the comment sections of major Australian newspapers reached such a fever pitch this week that moderators were forced to shut them down entirely, a move almost never seen for royal news. The Sussex camp has attempted to pivot, slamming the petition as misinformation and insisting the trip is privately funded. However, the damage is done. The warm welcome the couple received in 2018 has been replaced by a clinical scrutiny. As the March 29th deadline for the passport renewal approaches, the palace remains an iron core. The deadbolt is turned. King Charles III and Prince William have made it clear. If you choose the path of an American entrepreneur, you walk that path without the crown's shield. Archie and Lilibet, now aged 7 and 4, are the victims of this great severing. They are growing up in a world where their titles are viewed as commercial assets by their parents and constitutional liabilities by their grandfather. As they prepare for the April tour, they will do so not as the future of the British monarchy, but as the foundational pillars of a California brand that is increasingly at war with its own origin, effectively marking the end of the business week before the fateful March 29th deadline. The passport war has transitioned from a legal skirmish into a historical finality. The high-stakes gamble by Meghan Markle's legal team, intended to force the Crown's hand through threats of obstruction and safety negligence, has hit a wall of absolute constitutional silence. The most significant development as of this evening is a leaked internal memo from the Home Office, reportedly authored in consultation with Princess Anne. The memo provides the legal bedrock for the palace's refusal. The functional title doctrine. The Crown's argument is simple. A passport is a state document issued by the government. To include HRH, Her Royal Highness, on such a document, the individual must be an active representative of that state. Since Archie and Lilibet do not perform state duties, the government cannot legally certify them as Royal Highnesses for international travel. This is not harassment, as Meghan's lawyers claim. It is a strict adherence to the UK Passports Act. As news of the $5,000 VIP tickets for the Sussex's April Australian healing retreat went viral today, the British and Australian press have been merciless. Critics argue that the Sussexes are attempting to rent out the prestige of the monarchy to the highest bidder. Princess Anne has pointedly vined the Edinburgh family once more, noting that Lady Louise, now working a regular corporate job in London, travelled to Australia last year as a private citizen, waited in the standard immigration queue, and paid for her own commercial flight. The contrast has painted the Sussexes' demands for motorcades and HR status as not only entitled, but delusional. With the Succession Amendment Bill 2026 expected to receive its first reading in Parliament next week, the reality for Archie and Lilibet has become stark. They are no longer the future of the monarchy. They are the exiled line. By choosing a life of commercial meditation tours over the silent service of the Crown, Harry and Meghan have inadvertently provided the legal precedent to remove their children from the line of succession. Insiders report that Prince Harry is broken by the realization that his children will enter Australia in April as celebrity guests rather than royal princes. His trauma regarding security is real, but his brother, Prince William, remains unmoved. William's stance is that if Harry wanted the shield of the Crown, he should have stayed within the iron core of the UK. Meghan, meanwhile, is reportedly pivoting. If she cannot have the HR on the passport, she will use the rejection as a marketing tool for her as ever brand, painting herself and her children as modern rebels against an outdated system. However, in the world of global diplomacy, a rebel does not get a state motorcade. As of March 27th, the passport war is effectively over. The Crown hasn't just won, it has redefined the rules of the game. Archie and Lilibet will grow up as American citizens with British titles that carry no weight in the halls of power. They are the first ghost heirs of the digital age royals by blood, but civilians by law. The gates of Buckingham Palace are locked, the keys are with William, and for the Sussexes, the healing in Australia will have to happen without the HR they so desperately craved.